What will you do when your husband has cheated? I found the evidence on a Tuesday morning, while making his favorite breakfast. By Wednesday I had a plan. By Thursday, I'd become someone even I didn't recognize. And by Friday I'd learned that revenge isn't about making them hurt. It's about making yourself whole again. The smell of blueberry pancakes filled our kitchen. It was our tradition. Every Tuesday morning, I made James his favorite breakfast before his early meetings. 12 years of marriage, 12 years of blueberry pancakes on Tuesdays. I was the kind of wife who remembered these things. His phone buzzed on the counter. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. I wasn't the kind of wife who checked her husband's phone. I believed in trust, in privacy, in giving people space. But something about the urgency of those buzzes, the way they seemed almost aggressive in the quiet morning, made me glance at the screen. Last night was incredible. I can still feel your hands on me. The spatula clattered to the floor. Blueberry batter splattered across my bare feet, but I didn't notice. I was staring at that message, at the contact name that said simply A with a red heart emoji, trying to make my brain process what my eyes were seeing. My hands were shaking as I unlocked his phone. He'd never changed his passcode, my birthday, because he said I was the most important number in his life. The irony wasn't lost on me as I opened his messages. 3 months. 3 months of messages to A. Messages that made my stomach turn. Photos I couldn't unsee. Plans made in hotels I'd driven past 100 times. Lies I believed because why wouldn't I? He was my husband. We were happy, weren't we? I scrolled back further. Back to the beginning. My wife doesn't understand me the way you do. That's what he told her. This woman, this person who was apparently more understanding than the woman who'd stood by him through business failures, his father's death, his depression, his victories, and his defeats. She's so focused on her routine. Everything's scheduled. There's no spontaneity anymore. I read my own obituary in his words. The wife who made blueberry pancakes every Tuesday. The wife who planned date nights and remembered anniversaries. The wife who'd apparently become so boring, so predictable, that he needed to find excitement elsewhere. The bathroom door opened upstairs. James, fresh from his shower, getting ready for work. Getting ready for another day of looking me in the eye and lying. I closed the messages, locked the phone, placed it back exactly where it had been, and I finished making his pancakes. Smells amazing, James said, kissing my cheek as he entered the kitchen. His lips touched the same spot they'd touched every morning for 12 years. But now those lips had been on someone else. Now those hands that squeezed my shoulder had explored another woman's body. Your favorite, I said, my voice steady. Oscar-worthy, really? Extra blueberries, just how you like them. He sat down, already scrolling through his phone. Looking at her messages? Looking at her photos? Or carefully deleting evidence? Big day today? I asked, pouring him coffee. Black, 2 sugars. I knew everything about this man. Board meeting at 10. Then client lunches. I'll probably be home late. He didn't even look up. Don't wait up. Don't wait up. Translation. I'll be with her. No problem, I said brightly. I've got book club tonight anyway. I didn't have book club. I'd quit book club 6 months ago because James said he felt neglected on Wednesday nights. I'd given up my one social outlet for him, and he'd used that time to start screwing his mistress. He ate his pancakes, complimented them like he always did, kissed me goodbye like he always did, and drove away to his day of betrayal like he always did. And I stood in our kitchen, in the home we'd bought together, surrounded by photos of our life, and felt something inside me crystallize into diamond-hard resolve. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to become someone new. Here's what they don't tell you about discovering infidelity. You become a detective. You become obsessed with evidence, with timelines, with understanding exactly how blind you've been. I spent that entire Tuesday going through everything. Bank statements there, charges at hotels, jewelry stores, restaurants I'd never been to, credit card bills, flowers sent to an address I didn't recognize, calendar entries, late meetings that corresponded with her messages. I found her on social media in under an hour. Alyssa, 28 years old, marketing coordinator at his company, beautiful in that effortless way that made my carefully maintained 39-year-old appearance feel like trying too hard. She posted quotes about authentic living and following your heart, and the universe providing. The universe had apparently provided her with my husband. I scrolled through her Instagram. There, in the background of a photo from last month, at a company retreat I hadn't been invited to, James, slightly out of focus, but unmistakably staring at her with an expression I recognized because he used to look at me that way. I wasn't crying. I was taking notes. I called my best friend Rachel the divorce attorney. Hypothetically, I said, if someone's husband was cheating, what would be the smartest way to handle it? Rachel was quiet for a moment. Sarah, is this hypothetical? Very hypothetical. Okay. Hypothetically, that someone should document everything. Photos, messages, financial evidence. Get copies of all joint assets and accounts. Open a separate bank account he doesn't know about. And whatever she does, she shouldn't let him know that she knows. Not until she's ready. Why not? Because the moment he knows, he'll start hiding assets, creating narratives, preparing his defense. Right now, hypothetically, he thinks he's safe. That's her advantage. Thank you, I said. Sarah. Her voice was gentle. Are you okay? I will be, I said. And I meant it. Wednesday morning I went to the gym. I hadn't been to the gym in 3 years. I'd let my membership lapse, let my body soften, let my priorities shift to making James comfortable, making his life easier, being the perfect supportive wife. I signed up with a personal trainer, Marcus, who looked like he'd been carved from marble, and had probably never been betrayed by anyone in his life. What are your goals? He asked. I want to become unrecognizable, I said. He laughed. Then he saw my face and realized I wasn't joking. Wednesday afternoon, I went to a salon I'd never been to before. Cut it all off, I told the stylist, gesturing to my long hair that James loved. I want something bold. Something fierce. She gave me an asymmetrical bob with platinum highlights. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. Perfect. Wednesday evening I went shopping. Not at the practical stores where I usually bought sensible clothes for my sensible life. I went to boutiques that intimidated me, tried on clothes that felt too young, too sexy, too much. And I bought them. When James came home at midnight from late meetings, I was already asleep. Or pretending to be. He didn't notice my hair. He didn't notice me at all. Thursday morning I woke up at 5 a.m. I didn't make breakfast. I didn't follow our routine. I went for a run. As my feet hit the pavement, something shifted in my chest. Each step felt like shedding skin. The wife who made pancakes. The wife who waited up. The wife who accommodated and compromised and disappeared. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs screamed, until I couldn't think about anything except breathing and moving and existing in my body. When I got home sweaty and gasping, James was in the kitchen looking confused. Where were you? And what happened to your hair? I went running. And I got it cut. Do you like it? I already knew the answer. It's different. He looked uncomfortable. I loved your long hair. I know, I said, pouring myself coffee. But I didn't. That was the first crack in the facade. His confusion. His realization that something was shifting. I realized something in that moment, standing in my kitchen in my running clothes with my new hair. Watching my cheating husband struggle to process this deviation from script. I had spent 12 years performing the role of perfect wife. And in doing so, I had erased myself. I had believed that love meant sacrifice. That marriage meant compromise. That being a good partner meant making yourself smaller so your spouse could be bigger. I was wrong. Love isn't about erasing yourself. It's about expanding together. And what James and I had wasn't love. It was a contract where I provided services and he provided validation. Except he'd stopped holding up his end while I kept performing mine. This became my creed, the belief that would guide everything that followed. Your value is not determined by someone else's inability to see it. Your worth is not measured by how well you serve another person's comfort. And loyalty to someone who betrays you is not virtue. It's self-destruction. I would not destroy myself to save a marriage that was already dead. For 2 weeks I lived a double life. By day I was still the dutiful wife. I kept the house clean, managed our social calendar, smiled at James's colleagues at the charity gala. But underneath I was someone else entirely. I started therapy. Not couples therapy, individual therapy. I need to understand, I told Dr. Chun, how I became someone who didn't notice her husband was living a completely separate life. Tell me about your marriage, she said. And I did. I told her about meeting James in graduate school. About how he'd seemed so ambitious, so driven. How I'd supported his career moves. Relocated 3 times for his jobs. How I'd put my own career aspirations on hold because it made sense for one of us to be flexible. How that flexible person was always me. What do you want, Sarah? Dr. Chun asked. Not what does James want? Not what makes sense. What do you want? I realized I didn't know. I'd spent so long being what others needed that I'd forgotten to have desires of my own. I want to find out, I whispered. I started saying yes to things I'd always declined. A pottery class Rachel had invited me to years ago. A weekend writing workshop. Drinks with former colleagues I'd lost touch with. I discovered I was funny. When I wasn't monitoring every word to make sure I wasn't overshadowing James, when I wasn't carefully managing his ego, I was actually hilarious. My former colleagues laughed at my stories. They asked why I disappeared. They told me I seemed different, lighter, sharper, more alive. You seem happy, one of them said. I was stunned. I was in the middle of the worst crisis of my life and I was happy. Happier than I'd been in years of my perfect marriage. Meanwhile, James barely noticed. He was too busy with his parallel life, his secret phone calls, his mysterious late nights. I documented everything. Screenshots, receipts, calendar entries. I opened a bank account in my name only and started transferring small amounts. I made copies of every important document. I prepared. And I waited. 3 weeks after finding the messages, I was ready. Not ready to forgive, not ready to reconcile. Ready to end this on my terms. I chose a Friday. I'd learned from his calendar that Fridays were his standing date night with Alyssa. How romantic. I texted him that morning. Come home at 6 p.m. We need to talk. He responded immediately. Is everything okay? Just be home at 6. I spent the day preparing. Not emotionally, I was past emotion. Practically. I printed every piece of evidence. I organized it chronologically. I made copies for him. For me, from my lawyer. At 5:30, I changed into one of my new outfits. A dress that hugged curves I was rediscovering. Heels that made me feel powerful. Makeup that was dramatic, war paint level. When James walked in at 6:02, I was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine and a manila folder. You look. He started. I know, I said. Sit down. He sat. Confusion written across his face. Sarah, what's going on? You're acting weird lately. Alyssa, I said simply. I watched his face drain of color. I watched panic replace confusion. I watched him prepare to lie. I don't know what. I opened the folder and spread the evidence across our coffee table like a deck of cards. Messages, photos, hotel receipts, bank statements. Don't, I said quietly. Don't insult me by lying now. You've been lying for 3 months. At least have the decency to tell the truth now that you're caught. He stared at the papers. At the irrefutable proof of his betrayal. And then, this was almost impressive, he tried to flip the script. If you hadn't become so boring, so routine, maybe I wouldn't have needed. Stop. My voice was steel. You don't get to blame me for your choices. I'm not the one who cheated. You are. Own it. Sarah, please. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice calm despite my racing heart. I've already filed for divorce. You'll be served officially on Monday, but I wanted to tell you myself. I'm keeping the house. It's in my name from my grandmother's inheritance, if you recall. You'll move out this weekend. I've already spoken to a lawyer, and given your infidelity, the division of assets will be heavily in my favor. You can't just. I can. And I am. I took a sip of wine. I've spent 12 years making your life comfortable, making your favorite meals, supporting your career, managing our social life, being the perfect wife. And the whole time I was disappearing, becoming smaller and smaller until I was almost invisible, even to myself. That's not fair. What's not fair, I said, my voice rising for the first time, is that I gave you everything and you gave me lies. What's not fair is that I was loyal and devoted while you were screwing a 28-year-old at work. What's not fair is that you blamed me for your choices. He was crying now. I love you, Sarah. I made a mistake. We can fix this. No. I stood up. We can't. Because I don't want to. That's the part you don't understand. Even if you ended it with her, even if you begged, even if you went to therapy, I still wouldn't stay. Not because I can't forgive you, but because I finally realized I don't want to be married to you. The truth of those words hit me as I spoke them. This wasn't about his betrayal. This was about my awakening. These last 3 weeks, I continued, have been the happiest I've been in years. Not because you were cheating, I hated knowing that. But because I stopped performing for you. I stopped making myself small. I remembered who I was before I became your wife. And I like her better. The next 72 hours were chaos. James tried everything. Tears, anger, bargaining. He called me cruel, heartless, unwilling to fight for our marriage. He threatened to contest the divorce to make it difficult. He promised he'd changed, that he'd ended it with Alyssa, that he'd do anything. "You're being vindictive," he said Sunday morning as he packed his things. "You're punishing me." "No," I corrected. "I'm freeing myself. There's a difference." His parents called. His mother cried, told me I was throwing away a good marriage over a stupid mistake. His father was more direct. "You're overreacting. Men make mistakes. You're supposed to forgive." I listened politely. Then I said, "I've spent 12 years being what everyone else needed. I'm done." And I hung up. My own parents were complicated. My mother understood immediately. "I stayed when your father cheated," she said quietly. "I thought that's what strong women did. But Sarah, I was wrong. Strength isn't enduring mistreatment. Strength is knowing when to walk away." My father was silent for a long time. Then, "I'm sorry I taught you that your value was in how well you served others. I'm sorry I showed you that betrayal should be tolerated. I'm proud of you for being braver than I taught you to be." Rachel came over with wine and takeout and let me rage. He has the audacity to act like I'm the villain. Like I'm destroying our marriage. He destroyed it the moment he decided his dick was more important than his vows. "Let it out," she said, refilling my glass. "And everyone acts like I should try to save it. Like it's my responsibility to fix what he broke. Why is the burden always on the betrayed person to do the work of forgiveness? Where's his work? Where's his accountability?" "There isn't any," Rachel said. "Because society has trained us to believe that women should be forgiving, accommodating, understanding. That our pain matters less than maintaining appearances. That we should perform grace even when we're dying inside." "I'm done performing," I said. "I know," she smiled. "That's why I'm so proud of you." The divorce took 6 months to finalize. 6 months of lawyers and paperwork and dividing up 12 years of shared life. James fought it initially, trying to claim he deserved more of our assets, more of my inheritance. But the evidence was overwhelming. His infidelity, his using of joint funds for his affair, his lies. The judge was not sympathetic. During those 6 months I did something radical. I focused on myself. I threw myself into the pottery class. Turns out I was good with my hands. I created bowls and vases and sculptures that were actually beautiful. The instructor suggested I sell them at the local artisan market. "Really?" I asked, stunned. "You have talent," she said simply. "Why hide it?" I started the writing workshop and discovered I had stories to tell. Not just about my marriage but about everything. Observations about life, dark humor about human nature, essays that made people laugh and think. "You should submit this," my instructor said, pointing to a piece I'd written about the performance of femininity. "This could get published." I worked with Marcus 3 times a week. My body transformed. Not into some fantasy version but into something strong and capable. I could lift heavy things. I could run for miles. I could look in the mirror and see someone powerful. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with. I made new friends who knew me as Sarah, not as James's wife. I traveled alone for the first time in 12 years. A weekend trip to the mountains where I hiked and read and sat with my own thoughts without having to consider anyone else's needs. I started teaching pottery classes at the community center on weekends. I wrote a blog about rediscovering yourself after betrayal that unexpectedly went viral. Women from around the world commented, sharing their own stories, thanking me for putting words to their experiences. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. And that's when I understood the deepest truth of all. James's betrayal wasn't about me being insufficient. It was about him being broken. And his brokenness was never my responsibility to fix. For months into the divorce proceedings, I ran into Alyssa at a coffee shop. She saw me first. I watched the recognition, the fear, the guilt flash across her face. She started to leave. "Don't," I said. Not aggressive, just firm. "Sit." She sat, looking like she might bolt at any moment. "I'm not going to cause a scene," I said. "I just want to understand something." "Why?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't expect you to believe me, but I didn't know he was married at first." "Really?" I didn't hide my skepticism. "Really?" He told me he was divorced. That he'd been single for 2 years. By the time I found out the truth, she trailed off. "You'd already fallen for him," I finished. She nodded miserably. "He told me you were separated, that you were only staying in the same house for financial reasons. that the marriage had been dead for years. I laughed bitterly. And you believed him? I wanted to, she admitted. I was 28 and in love with this successful, charming man who paid attention to me, who made me feel special. It wasn't until he did the same thing to me. I looked up sharply. What? After you filed for divorce, we tried to actually be together. It lasted 6 weeks. Then I found messages on his phone to another woman. Someone new at the office. The same lies, the same promises, the same patterns. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt sad. Alyssa, he's a narcissist. He needs constant validation. You were never special to him, you were supply. And so was I. And so is whoever comes next. She started crying. I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am genuinely sorry. I helped destroy a marriage. I helped hurt you. And I hate myself for it. Here's the thing, I said, surprising myself. You didn't destroy my marriage. James did. Yes, you participated. Yes, you made choices. But the vows were between him and me. The commitment was between him and me. The betrayal was his. That's generous, she whispered. It's not generosity. It's clarity. I stood up. I don't forgive you. But I also don't hate you. You're just a person who made selfish choices and learned the hard way that karma doesn't miss. Learn from this. Be better. And maybe next time, believe women when we tell you who a man really is, instead of believing his lies because they're more convenient. I left her there and I felt something lift. The last piece of anger I'd been carrying. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday. I signed the papers in my lawyer's office, walked out into the crisp autumn air, and felt nothing but relief. That evening my friends threw me a divorce party. Not a sad, commiserating gathering but a celebration. To Sarah, Rachel toasted, who chose herself. To new beginnings, someone else added. To learning that the end of a marriage isn't the end of a life, sometimes it's the beginning, I said. We drank and laughed and danced. And I realized something profound. I wasn't mourning the loss of my marriage. I was celebrating the return of myself. Later, alone in my house free and clear, I thought about the question that had started this all. What will you do when your husband has cheated? The expected answer is to fall apart. To beg him to stay. To blame yourself, to try harder, to compete with the other woman. To forgive and forget and work on your marriage. But here's what I actually did. I woke up. I woke up to the reality that I'd been sleepwalking through my own life. That I'd been so focused on being a good wife that I'd forgotten to be a whole person. That I'd measured my success by his happiness instead of my own fulfillment. James's cheating didn't destroy me. It freed me. And that's the truth they don't tell you about betrayal. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing you ever do for yourself. 6 months after the divorce, I was in a completely different life. I'd quit my part-time administrative job and opened a pottery studio. It wasn't making me rich, but it was making me happy. I taught classes, sold my work, created beauty with my hands. My blog had grown into a speaking opportunity. I was invited to a women's conference to talk about rebuilding after betrayal. I was terrified. What if no one cares? I asked Rachel. They will, she said confidently. Because you're saying what everyone feels but nobody admits. She was right. I walked onto that stage in front of 300 women, and I told them my story. Not just the facts but the feelings. The shame, the anger, the grief. And then the awakening. The power. The choice. Here's what I want you to understand, I said, my voice steady. When someone betrays you, society tells you that you have 2 options. Forgive and stay, or leave and be bitter. But there's a third option no one talks about. Leave and be better. The room was silent. I'm not here to tell you all to get divorced. Some of you will choose to rebuild. Some relationships can survive infidelity and become stronger. But, and this is crucial, only if both people do the work. Only if the betrayer takes full accountability. Only if the betrayed person doesn't have to shrink themselves to make the betrayer comfortable with their own guilt. I saw women nodding, some crying. What I learned through my divorce wasn't about my ex-husband. It was about me. I learned that I had spent years performing a role instead of living a life. I had believed that my value came from how well I served others. I had accepted that my needs were negotiable while everyone else's were mandatory. My voice grew stronger. So when people ask me, what will you do when your husband has cheated? I tell them this: you have a choice. You can choose to stay and do the hard work of rebuilding, but only if he does the work too. You can choose to leave and rebuild yourself instead. But whatever you choose, choose yourself. Choose your dignity. Choose your worth. Choose the truth that you are valuable regardless of whether someone else recognizes it. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, women lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to thank me for giving them permission to prioritize themselves. One woman, probably in her 50s, gripped my hand. I've been married 30 years. He's cheated 3 times. Everyone tells me I should stay because we have a history, because marriages work, because of the grandchildren. But hearing you tonight, I realized I've been setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. So what will you do? I asked gently. I don't know yet, she said. But I know I'm going to choose me for once. That's when I truly understood the creed that had emerged from my experience. Betrayal reveals character. Not just of the betrayer but of yourself. You can choose to become smaller, harder, more bitter. Or you can choose to become bigger, stronger, more authentic. The pain is the same either way. But the outcome is entirely different. Your worth is inherent. It doesn't increase when someone loves you, and it doesn't decrease when someone betrays you. Simply is. Loyalty to someone who consistently betrays you isn't love. It's self-abandonment. And no relationship is worth abandoning yourself. The best revenge isn't making them hurt. It's making yourself whole. These beliefs became my foundation. Not just about romantic relationships but about everything. About friendships that demanded I shrink. About family dynamics that required I people please. About societal expectations that insisted I perform femininity in specific ways. I was done performing. I was done shrinking. I was done prioritizing everyone else's comfort over my own authenticity. A year after the divorce, I saw James at a mutual friend's wedding. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, tired. The charm that had once drawn me and seemed forced now. He approached me during cocktail hour. "Sarah, you look incredible." "Thank you," I said simply. "Can we talk?" "Just for a minute." I considered saying no, but curiosity won. "Sure." We stepped out onto the venue's terrace. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. "I've been wanting to reach out," he said. "To apologize. Really apologize. Not the defensive bullshit I said during the divorce." "Okay," I said, not committing to anything. "I was a coward. I was selfish. I blamed you for my own insecurities and inadequacies. You didn't deserve any of it." He took a breath. "You were a good wife. Better than I deserved. And I threw it away because I was too broken to appreciate what I had." "Thank you for saying that," I said. And I meant it. Not because I needed his validation but because accountability matters. "I've been in therapy," he continued, "trying to understand why I sabotage good things. Why I need constant validation. He trailed off. "I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to be better." "That's good, James. I hope you find what you're looking for. Do you ever think about—" He couldn't finish the question. "Us getting back together?" I finished for him. "No. Never." He looked stung. "That's not about you," I clarified. "It's about me. I'm not the person I was when we were married. I don't want that life anymore. I don't want to be anyone's wife right now. I want to be Sarah. Just Sarah. Full and complete on my own." "You seem happy," he said quietly. "I am," I said truthfully. "Happier than I've ever been." "Even though you're alone?" "I'm not alone," I corrected. "I'm independent. There's a difference. I have friends, family, a business I love, hobbies that fulfill me. I have a rich, full life. I'm not waiting for someone to complete me because I'm already complete." He nodded slowly. "I think I'm finally understanding what I lost." "You didn't lose me, James. I chose to leave. And I'd make that choice again every single time." 2 years after discovering those messages, I was living a life I couldn't have imagined. My pottery studio had expanded. I now employed 3 other artists and taught workshops across the state. My blog had turned into a book deal. A memoir about transformation after betrayal that was set to publish in 6 months. I traveled to 12 countries, always alone, always on my own terms. I'd hiked Machu Picchu, taken a cooking class in Thailand, stood before the northern lights in Iceland. I'd learned that solo travel wasn't lonely, it was liberating. I dated casually. Nothing serious, nothing that required me to compromise my newfound independence. I'd learned that I could enjoy companionship without losing myself in it. I'd repaired relationships with family members I'd neglected during my marriage. I'd deepened friendships. I'd built a community of women who supported each other's growth instead of their diminishment. I'd learned to sit with myself, to enjoy my own company, to not need constant distraction or validation or partnership to feel complete. One evening I was in my studio throwing a vase on the wheel, completely absorbed in the feel of clay beneath my hands, when Rachel walked in. "You know what's different about you now?" she said, watching me work. "What?" "You're not performing anymore. You're not being the person you think you should be. You're just being." I looked down at my clay-covered hands, at the imperfect but beautiful vessel taking shape. I think I finally figured out who I am when I'm not defined by someone else. "And who's that?" "Someone I actually like," I said, smiling. 3 years after that Tuesday morning with the blueberry pancakes, I was speaking at a women's empowerment conference. The crowd was over 1,000 people. A woman in the front row raised her hand during the Q&A. "I just found out my husband cheated. I'm destroyed. Everyone is telling me I need to either forgive him or leave him, but I don't know what to do. What's the right answer?" I looked at her pain, at her confusion, and I saw myself 3 years ago. "There is no right answer," I said gently. "There's only your answer. But let me tell you what I wish someone had told me. This isn't actually about him. This is about you." The audience was silent. His cheating revealed who he is, but your response will reveal who you are, and more importantly, who you want to become. You can choose to stay and rebuild, but only if he's willing to do real work, take real accountability, and respect your pain instead of minimizing it. You can choose to leave and rebuild yourself. But whatever you choose, the question isn't, can I forgive him? The question is, can I forgive myself if I stay and nothing changes? Or can I forgive myself if I leave and don't give him a chance? She was crying now. Here's what I learned. Betrayal is devastating. It shatters your trust, your self-image, your sense of safety. But it also cracks you open. And you get to decide what fills that crack. Bitterness? Or wisdom? Cynicism? Or strength? Smallness? Or expansion? I took a breath. When my husband cheated, I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And in some ways it was. But it was also the catalyst for me becoming the person I was always meant to be. The person I couldn't become while I was busy being what everyone else needed. I looked directly at her. "So what will you do when your husband has cheated?" "You'll survive. You'll choose. You'll transform. And one day, you'll realize that his betrayal was the beginning of your liberation. Not because betrayal is good, but because you chose to use it as fuel instead of poison." The room erupted in applause. But I was still looking at that woman, and I saw the moment something shifted in her eyes. The moment she realized she had power, even in her pain. After my talk, the line of women wanting to speak with me stretched around the conference hall. Each one had a story. Each one was at a different point in their journey. And to each one I said the same thing. You are not broken. You are breaking open. And what emerges from that breaking is entirely up to you. That night, alone in my hotel room, I reflected on how far I'd come. Not just from the marriage, but from the person I'd been. I thought about the Sarah who made blueberry pancakes every Tuesday, who scheduled her entire life around someone else's needs, who believed that her value was in her service, her compliance, her ability to make others comfortable. That Sarah wasn't weak. She was conditioned by a society that tells women that our worth is in our relationships, our beauty is in our youth, our success is in our ability to keep a man happy. I'd internalized all of it. The message that I should be grateful James chose me, that I should work harder to keep him interested, that if he strayed it meant I'd failed somehow. But here's the truth I'd learned through fire. A partner who truly loves you doesn't need you to perform. They don't need you to shrink or diminish or erase yourself. They want you to expand, to grow, to become more fully yourself. And if your growth threatens them, they were never the right partner. Betrayal is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It's a reflection of someone else's brokenness, someone else's inability to honor commitments, someone else's need for external validation. You can be perfect and still be betrayed, because betrayal is about the betrayer's character, not your value. The opposite of betrayal isn't blind trust. It's self-trust. Trusting yourself to know what you will and won't accept. Trusting yourself to choose your own well-being over maintaining appearances. Trusting yourself to survive whatever comes. Revenge is not about making them suffer. It's about refusing to suffer with them. It's about building a life so fulfilling that their absence is a relief, not a loss. These truths have become my armor and my compass. They guided every decision, every relationship, every moment of doubt. My book launched 6 months later. Breaking Open: How Betrayal Became My Liberation debuted at number 3 on the bestseller list. The response was overwhelming. Women from every country, every background, every age reached out to share their stories. The common thread wasn't just infidelity. It was the experience of losing yourself in relationships, in family expectations, in societal pressure to be good. I started a private online community for women navigating betrayal and transformation. It grew to over 50,000 members in less than a year. Women supporting women. Not in the shallow, girl power way, but in deep, authentic ways. Challenging each other. Holding each other accountable. Celebrating victories and mourning losses together. We created resources. Legal guides for divorce. Therapeutic worksheets for healing. Financial planning templates for rebuilding. Job interview preparation for women re-entering the workforce. Co-parenting strategies. Dating advice for the newly single. But more than resources, we created a culture. A culture that said, your pain is valid and you are responsible for your healing. You can acknowledge what was done to you and refuse to let it define you. You deserve support and you must do the work. Victimhood is a temporary state, not an identity. Your story matters, but it's not your entire story. Women thrived in this space because it didn't coddle them or enable them to stay stuck. It met them in their pain and then challenged them to move through it. One member, a woman named Patricia who discovered her husband's 20-year affair, wrote, I joined this group thinking I needed sympathy. What I got was a kick in the ass wrapped in compassion. You all refused to let me stay in my story of being the victim. You pushed me to see that I had choices even when it felt like I had none. 2 years later, I'm running my own business. I've traveled to places I'd only dreamed about. And I'm in a relationship with someone who treats me like I'm precious. Thank you for not letting me stay small. That's what the community became. A place where women learned they were bigger than their pain. For years after the discovery, a journalist asked me a question during an interview. Have you forgiven your ex-husband? I paused, considering. That's the wrong question, I finally said. She looked surprised. What do you mean? Everyone asks about forgiveness like it's the goal, the end point, the thing that determines whether you're healed or bitter. But forgiveness is complicated. It's not a switch you flip. And frankly, I'm not sure it's even necessary. That's controversial, she noted. Maybe. But here's what I know. I don't wake up angry anymore. I don't think about James except when I'm asked about him. I don't wish him ill, but I also don't wish him well. He's just neutral to me. Is that forgiveness? Or is it just indifference? Does it matter? So you haven't forgiven him? I've released him, I said. I've released the anger, the hurt, the fantasy of what our marriage could have been. I've released the version of myself that needed him to be sorry or to suffer for me to feel vindicated. But have I forgiven him in the traditional sense of absolving him and wishing him peace? No, and I don't need to. His peace isn't my responsibility. Some would say that's holding on to resentment. Some would be wrong, I said firmly. Resentment is active. It's a living thing that consumes you. What I have is boundaries. I've bounded him out of my emotional space. He doesn't get access to my inner world anymore. That's not resentment. That's self-preservation. The interview went viral. Women everywhere responded with relief. Thank you for saying I don't have to forgive to be healed. Because here's another truth I'd learned. Forgiveness is not a requirement for your healing. It's an option, one of many. You can heal through release, through boundary setting, through indifference, through letting time and distance do their work. The pressure to forgive often comes from people who are uncomfortable with your justified anger, not from any actual therapeutic necessity. You don't owe anyone forgiveness. Not even for your own healing. You owe yourself release from the pain. How you achieve that release is entirely your choice. 5 years after the divorce, I met Marcus at a pottery exhibition. Not my trainer Marcus, a different Marcus. An architect who saw my work and wanted to commission pieces for a building he was designing. We met for coffee to discuss the project. The coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into a walk in the park. The walk turned into exchanging numbers. I'd like to see you again, he said. Not for work. Just because I enjoyed talking with you. I felt panic rise. I'd been single for 5 years. I dated casually but kept everyone at arm's length. The idea of actually letting someone in again terrified me. I don't know if I'm ready for that, I said honestly. Okay, he said simply. No pressure, no convincing, no wounded ego. But if you change your mind, I'm interested. 3 weeks later I called him. Want to have dinner? We took it slow. Painfully slow. I was hypervigilant for red flags, for signs that he was like James, for any indication that I'd have to shrink myself to accommodate him. But Marcus was different. When I worked late on a project, he didn't pout or complain. He asked about the work, genuinely interested. When I took a solo trip to Japan, he didn't ask for constant check-ins or make me feel guilty. He asked to see photos when I got back and listen to my stories. "You don't feel threatened by my independence," I observed one night. "Why would I?" he asked, genuinely confused. "Your independence is part of who you are. I didn't fall for some potential version of you that I could mold. I fell for you. As you are." It was such a foreign concept. A partner who didn't need me to be different, smaller, more accommodating. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm scared of losing myself again." "Then don't," he said simply. "Keep being yourself. Keep doing your work. Keep taking solo trips. Keep having boundaries. I don't want a woman who lives for me. I want a partner who has her own full life and chooses to share parts of it with me." "What if I'm too damaged?" I whispered. "What if I can't fully trust again?" "Then we'll build trust slowly," he said. "Sarah, I'm not asking you to hand me your whole heart on day one. I'm asking you to let me show you, consistently over time, that I'm trustworthy. And if I ever prove I'm not, I expect you to walk away. Don't ever shrink yourself to accommodate someone else's mediocrity. Not even mine." That's when I knew he was different. He wasn't asking me to be vulnerable despite my boundaries. He was respecting my boundaries as a sign of my strength. 6 years after finding those messages, I stood in my pottery studio surrounded by my work, bowls and vases and sculptures that represented different phases of my journey. The early pieces were chaotic, angry, sharp-edged. The middle pieces were exploratory, experimental. The recent pieces were confident, bold, assured. A documentary crew was filming me for a piece about women who'd rebuilt after betrayal. The director asked, "If you could go back and tell yourself something on that Tuesday morning when you found the messages, what would it say?" I thought about it carefully. I'd tell her, "This is going to hurt worse than anything you've ever experienced. You're going to question everything, your judgment, your worth, your entire reality. You're going to feel destroyed. But here's what you need to know. You're not breaking. You're breaking open. And what's going to emerge from this breaking is someone you couldn't have become any other way." "Would you tell her to leave?" the director asked. "No," I said, "because she needs to make that choice herself. She needs to go through the process of considering staying, of understanding why she'd want to, and then choosing to leave anyway. That choice, made consciously and deliberately, is what gives her power. If someone had told her what to do, she'd have felt like a victim of circumstances. But because she chose, she became the author of her own story." "Do you regret the 12 years of marriage?" "No," I said truthfully. "Those years taught me what I don't want, who I don't want to be, and what true partnership should look like. They weren't wasted. They were preparation." "For what?" "For becoming someone who knows her worth, independent of anyone else's validation. For becoming someone who can't be manipulated by guilt or fear or social pressure. For becoming someone who would rather be alone and authentic than partnered and diminished." The camera kept rolling as I shaped clay with my hands. "Here's what I want people to understand," I continued. "When your husband cheats, or when any partner betrays you, it's not the end of your story. It's not even the most important part of your story. It's the inciting incident, the catalyst. But what you do next, that's your story. How you choose to move through the pain, what you choose to become in the aftermath, who you choose to be when no one's watching, that's where your power is." "And what did you choose to become?" "Free," I said simply. "I chose to become free." 7 years after the divorce, I received a letter. It was from a woman named Jennifer who'd heard me speak at a conference 3 years earlier. She wrote, "When you spoke, I was 6 months into discovering my husband's affair. I was broken. I was planning to take him back because I didn't think I could survive on my own. I had 3 kids, no recent work history, and a belief system that told me good wives forgive, good mothers keep families together, and good women don't give up. You said something that changed my life. The question isn't can you forgive him? The question is can you forgive yourself if you stay and nothing changes?" I couldn't answer that question the way I wanted to, so I left. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But 3 years later, I'm a paralegal at a law firm. My kids are thriving. I'm in therapy dealing with the conditioning that told me my worth was in my ability to keep a man. And last week, I laughed so hard I cried. And I realized it was the first time in years I'd felt joy that wasn't performance. Thank you for giving me permission to choose myself. Thank you for showing me that a mother who is fulfilled and authentic is better for her children than a mother who martyrs herself for an illusion of family wholeness. Thank you for teaching me that my daughters needed to see me value myself so they'd learn to value themselves. You saved my life, not because you told me what to do, but because you showed me I had choices I didn't know existed. I cried reading that letter, because that was the point. Not to tell women what to do, but to show them they had options. To challenge the narratives that trap women in diminishment. To create a community where women could be honest about their pain and ambitious about their healing. The documentary aired and reached millions. My second book came out, this one about building authentic partnerships after learning what you won't tolerate. I continued teaching, speaking, creating. But more importantly, I continued living. Fully, authentically, unapologetically. Marcus and I got engaged. Not because I needed marriage to be complete, but because I wanted to share my life with someone who enhanced it rather than diminished it. Someone who celebrated my strength instead of feeling threatened by it. Are you scared? Rachel asked me when I told her. Terrified, I admitted. But not of him. I'm scared of my own conditioning. Scared that I'll fall back into old patterns of people-pleasing and self-erasure. You won't, she said confidently. How do you know? Because you're not the same person anymore. That woman who made blueberry pancakes? She's gone. And good riddance. The woman you are now? She's fucking unbreakable. 10 years after that Tuesday morning, I was speaking at a university. A young woman, maybe 22, asked the question that started it all. What will you do when your husband has cheated? I smiled at her. The better question is, what will you do when anyone, husband, partner, friend, family member, employer, violates your trust, disrespects your boundaries, or treats you as less valuable than you are? She waited. Here's what you'll do first. You'll feel everything. The pain, the anger, the shame, the grief. You'll let yourself fall apart because that's how humans process trauma. But, and this is crucial, you won't live there. You'll feel it, acknowledge it, and then you'll make a choice. I stood up, walking closer to the audience. You'll ask yourself, who do I want to be in response to this? Do I want to be someone who tolerates mistreatment? Or someone who sets boundaries? Do I want to be someone who shrinks to make others comfortable? Or someone who expands into her full power? Do I want to be defined by what happened to me? Or by how I responded to what happened? The room was silent. When my husband cheated, I chose to become someone I'm proud of. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't diminish herself for anyone. Someone who understands that the right partner enhances your life, not requires you to sacrifice it. Someone who knows that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. I paused. So what will you do when your husband has cheated? You'll survive. You'll choose. You'll transform. You'll build a life so full and beautiful that his absence is a footnote, not a headline. You'll become someone who knows that your value doesn't increase when you're loved and doesn't decrease when you're betrayed. It simply is. And then what? She asked. Then you'll live, I said simply. Not just exist, not just survive, but actually live. Fully. Authentically. Unapologetically. You'll create art or build businesses or raise children or travel the world or teach or write or do whatever makes you feel alive. You'll build friendships that nourish you. You'll set boundaries that protect you. You'll make choices that honor you. Will you trust again? Eventually, I said. But differently. You'll trust yourself first. You'll trust your ability to recognize red flags. You'll trust your strength to walk away when something isn't right. You'll trust that you can survive anything. And from that foundation of self-trust, you might choose to trust someone else. Not because you need them, but because you want to share your already full life with them. She nodded slowly, taking it in. Here's the truth about betrayal, I continued. It's devastating. It's life-altering. But it's not life-ending. What ends is the version of you that accepted less than you deserved. What ends is the relationship that required you to shrink. What ends is the illusion that love means sacrifice rather than celebration. And what begins? Another student asked. Everything, I said, smiling. Everything begins. In the end, this is what I learned. This is the creed I live by, the belief system that guides every decision. Your worth is inherent, not earned. It cannot be given by another person's love, and cannot be taken by another person's betrayal. Loyalty to someone who consistently disrespects you is not love. It's self-abandonment. And no relationship is worth abandoning yourself. Forgiveness is optional. Healing is mandatory. and they are not the same thing. The opposite of betrayal isn't blind trust. It's self-trust. Trust yourself to know what you will and won't accept. Trust yourself to choose your well-being over maintaining appearances. Trust yourself to survive whatever comes. A partner who truly loves you doesn't need you to perform. They don't need you to shrink or diminish or erase yourself. They want you to expand, to grow, to become more fully yourself. Betrayal reveals character. Theirs and yours. You get to decide what yours reveals. That you can be broken, or that you can break open and let light pour through. The best revenge isn't making them hurt. It's making yourself whole. It's building a life so fulfilling that their absence is a relief, not a loss. You are not broken. You are breaking open. And what emerges from that breaking is entirely up to you. These aren't just words. They're the foundation of everything I've built. They're what I teach in my workshops, what I write in my books, what I whisper to women who are where I once was, standing in a kitchen, looking at evidence of betrayal, wondering if they'll survive. You will survive. And if you choose it, you'll do more than survive. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's about every time you've made yourself smaller. Every time you've swallowed your truth to keep the peace. This is Sarah, 10 years after the worst day of my life became the first day of my real life. Thank you for being here. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below with your own journey.